you know, or you see where the song becomes the focus, and the voicings, the rhythms, the embellishments, the positions, the key, the progressions, whatever the case may be, that just serves the song. So how do you get to that? Well, hey, and welcome back to the channel. Last week we posted an epic workshop all about mastering the fretboard, specifically as it relates to worship guitar. So that is if you play in a church on Sundays during worship services and you want to kind of get to grips and get your confidence level and your skill ability at the place where you can play any modern worship song, learning the fretboard in that regard. Now, we covered all of the concepts, but really the thing that's going to move the needle for you is when it comes to how you practice these things so that you can get everything drilled in to your muscle memory and you are able to do things without thinking. That's really where you want to be when it comes to playing guitar. Because if you are thinking specifically around the rhythm you're using, the position you're playing, the voicing you're playing, the key you're playing, the progression you're playing, if you're thinking about all this stuff in real time, it removes you out of the moment and you are really consumed with what you have to do. If you look at some of the world's best guitar players, they don't really think about this stuff. It's more that the guitar is just an extension of themselves that they can then use to communicate and speak through that. That is that state of flow that you want to achieve in your playing. And the way you get to that is just by practicing and being able to do things without thinking so that you can then go ahead and more deliberately and intentionally focus on the task at hand, and instead of wrestling with what you got to do on a guitar, and instead of being kind of plagued by fear and anxiety by being afraid of not making any mistakes as you are playing. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and give you a practical way in which you can go ahead and practice these different things. So we're going to be talking about a couple of different variables. First of all, the main thing is you have to play songs, right? So when you look at a song, there's a couple of things involved with the song. Number one, it's going to be in a specific key. If you're a worship guitarist, you'll be playing in multiple keys, so you need to be able to play the same song in different keys. Like if you're playing in a cover band and you play Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, then it's always going to be in E minor, right? You're not going to have to do that song in D flat and then in A flat, because it's very guitar driven. For the most part, it's going to be in the same key. But when we play in churches, we have different singers that have different ranges, male, female, and then so forth. People have different ranges as it relates to what they prefer. So you need to be good at playing in different keys. That's the first thing. What key is the song in? The second thing is, what progressions are you playing in that song? So for example, if we look at a progression in the key of C, which will be 1, 4, 6, 5, that'll be C, F, A minor, G. So that's the first two variables, your key and your progression. The next variable is going to be your voicing, the voicings that you use to play the chords. Maybe you play the 4/2 dyads like we cover on the channel quite extensively. Maybe you use triads, maybe you use open chords, maybe you use power chords, maybe you use octaves. We did a great video around all the different types of dyads that you can play on the guitar, so check that out. But that's the third decision that you need to be able to make. Then you're going to decide where you're going to play it, in the low area of the neck, the middle area, or the upper area, the higher area on the neck. So you've got your position as the fourth thing. And then finally, the last two things will be, what rhythm are you going to use to play those chords in that progression, in that particular key, in that specific area of the neck? And then also, what level are you going to play that at? Are you going to do that in a simple basic level, or are you going to have more of an advanced approach to how you play? I'm going to go ahead and give you some examples of how to play this. And by the way, check out the link in the description. You can check out how to get access to a backing track pack where you have all the different keys, progressions, tempos, and whatever the case may be. And then we also have a workshop where I go ahead and help you develop a practice plan to put all of the stuff into a systematic way so that you can master the fretboard. So with all that said, we are now going to start with the key of C. We're going to play a 1, 4, 6, 5 progression, and then let me show you how I can play that in 3 different positions on the neck. First of all, I can do it low, 1, 4, 6, 5, or I can do it in the middle area, 1, 4, 6, 5, or I can do it over here, 1, 4, 6, 5. I'm going to play that with a backing track, and I'm just going to show you how I can do that, and then afterwards I'll show you once you have that down, you don't have to do all 3 positions, you can just stay in one position, but I'll show you how you can go ahead and change rhythms or change the level at which you play that. So let's go ahead, we'll cue up the track. I'm going to play a 1, 4, 6, 5 using Triads, our 4/2 voicings in 3 different positions on the neck. Here we go. All right, so there we go. That was a 1, 4, 6, 5 progression in the key of C that I played in this area of the neck, the middle area, and the higher area. There's basically 3 places where I can play C, 3 for F, which you can also do an octave down, 3 for A minor, which you can also do an octave down, and then 3 for G, which you can also do an octave down. That is me playing a 1, 4, 6, 5 progression in the key of C. We're using Triads, 4/2 Triads in 3 positions on the neck. That can keep you busy for a while. Maybe you are in a position where you say, you know what? I just want to focus on this lower position. I'm not quite ready to move over to the others. Then that's totally fine. You can stay there. Now from there, you have some choices to make. Either you can keep everything as is and then add in the rhythms like we said before. So I can change my rhythm and I can also change the level at which I play that. I'm going to quickly show you that, just if you wanted to add that to the mix. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you what you can do when you're changing progressions or when you are changing keys. So let's check this out. When I play the rhythms, what I played for this first version is I just played a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1. It's very important that you know what rhythm you're going to use before you play it. Too many people, when they play voicings or even soloing, instead of being intentional with what they play, they kind of meander and they don't really know what they're going to do, and therefore the playing lacks that intention and it lacks a bit of punch because you're not being deliberate and intentional with how you're going to play it. But now I'm going to show you 2 different rhythms that will add into the first one that I played. So I can do a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or I can do a picking pattern where I go low, high, low, high. Or I can change it, I can go high, low. I can also do kind of a hybrid picking where I've got a pedal tone. And I can even strum it. I'm going to play that for you in a second. The main thing to note here, and this is why guitarists get overwhelmed and they don't progress in their playing and in their skill and their ability, is because they try and do too many things at the same time. Like if I practice one time and for the next time over the progression, I then change the key, I change the progression, I change the voicing, I change the area where I play in the neck, I change my rhythm, and I try and do more advanced things without having the basics down. Can you see that those 6 variables is just too much? So you need to start somewhere, give yourself a foundation. In this case, it was 1, 6, 4, 5 in the key of C. And now I need to decide, well, what do I want to work on? Do I want to learn the same progression in other keys? Do I want to do other progressions in the same key? Do I want to learn other rhythms? Do I want to do other voicings? Do I want to learn other positions on the neck? Or do I want to go ahead and take the basics and do something more advanced? I'm going to showcase all of those 6 different options that you have at your disposal to decide which one of those variables do you want to change. So let's start by changing the rhythms. I just want to show you by playing the different rhythms what big difference that can make in terms of what the voicings sound like. And at the same time, I'm using different techniques. Like for the strumming, there's string muting involved. For the one where I had the pedal tone, there's hybrid picking involved, depending on what you want to do. So let's go ahead and fire up the track again. And now I'm going to leave the progression the same, the key the same, the position. I might jump in between low, middle, and high because I'm comfortable with those. But then I'm going to change up my rhythm for variety because I want to grow my skill level in the area of rhythm. Here we go. Alright, so as you can see, every time I introduced any one of those different rhythms, it changes the feel of the same progression in the same key, using the same voicings, but now I've got different ways. The what that I'm playing is the key, the progression, and the voicings, but how I'm playing it would be the rhythm that I'm using. So that's how I play it slightly differently. Then when it comes to, are you doing the basic version or more advanced version? Like if I want to now level this up and I want to go further with what I've just shown you, I can use things like hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides for embellishments. So I can play C instead of playing, I can play F and add in another version of F, A minor, another version of A minor, G. So see, I'm using embellishments and I'm combining different positions. That is, I wouldn't recommend going for that right away. I would rather recommend focusing on playing other keys, other progressions, other voicings, and other rhythms in all the different positions. All right, it sounds like a lot, but you just want to change one thing at a time. So let me just show you a more advanced approach of playing this. This is not what I would recommend you to do at this stage. I just want to show you what becomes possible when you have a solid command of your voicings, your keys, your progressions, your rhythms, and so forth, the different positions on the neck. Let's go ahead and do that one more time with a slightly more advanced approach to that. Alright, so what I ended up doing there is I kind of didn't really think about what I was doing. I was just comfortably connecting different parts of the progression together with different positions on the neck, using different forms of embellishment and just having fun playing all over the neck. So how do you get to a level where when you're playing on a Sunday, if you hear the song, maybe there's a specific melody that you're hearing and you want to incorporate that in your voicing, so then it might be... or You see, where the song becomes the focus and the voicings, the rhythms, the embellishments, the positions, the key, the progressions, whatever the case may be, that just serves the song. So how do you get to that? Well, you want to get comfortable at knowing your neck, right? So what we've just done is we played a 1-4-6-5 in the key of C, along with some of those other variables that I've shown you. So now you can choose. Maybe you want to start with that progression in the key of C, 1-4-6-5. You can leave the key the same, but change the progression. So now instead of playing 1-4-6-5, we're going to play 4-1-5-6 in the key of C. So I'll leave everything the same as I've just done, but I'm going to change the progression. So let's check out a 4-1-5-6 in the key of C. All right, so the key stayed the same. It was a key of C. The voicing stayed the same. It was 4-2 voicings. I used some of the same rhythms I've shown you before, and I did it in the different positions. The only thing I changed was the progression. Let's make one more change to the progression, and we'll do a 1-6-4-5 now in the key of C. And by the way, in the link in the description, if you want to get access to this backing track vault, where you have modern style tracks in different keys, different tempos, and different progressions, you can check that out, as well as a guided workshop where I help you put together a systematic plan based on where you're currently at and how you want to develop your knowledge and use of the fretboard. So let's do the 1-6-4-5 in the key of C. Alright, so can you see what's going on here is I am using the same chords, the same key in the different positions, but I'm playing them in a different order, which is different progressions, which is exactly what happens when you play songs in church. Let's do one more progression. We'll do a 6-4-1-5 in the key of C using the same voicings. Let's go. Alright, so now you can see at first we played key of C, we did a range of different progressions, we used 4-2 voicings, we played them in the low, middle, and a higher position on the neck. We used a variety of go-to rhythms, and then I also used some embellishments and a slightly more advanced application of these same voicings. So that's where you want to start, because then you get to use the same key, the same chord shapes in different positions on the neck, but you get to do them in different orders with different progressions. And now your ear starts to hear, oh wow, that song sounds like Be Enthroned, and that song sounds like Let It Rain, and that song sounds like, or that progression sounds like whatever song. Now your brain starts to make connections between what you are doing from a physical point of view to what you are hearing. So that is why we want to start with the same chords, the same key, but add in different progressions. Now, where do you go from there? Well, you can change the voicings, instead of playing 4-2 voicings, like if I do 1-4-6-5, 1-4-6-5, instead of doing 4-2 voicings, I can now do triads, 1-4-6-5, 1-4-6-5, 1-4-6-5. You can do that, but I would recommend sticking with the voicings. Don't change the voicings up yet. Rather go ahead and change your key. So what we're going to do now is we'll play a 1-4-6-5 in the key of G. So now my key is changing. So I'm no longer going to play 1-4-6-5 in the key of C. I'm going to play 1-4-6-5 in the key of G. 1-4-6-5, 1-4-6-5. By the way, these are the same progressions we just played in C. They're not just happening on different areas of the neck because it's a different key. So therefore, the same notes in most cases perform different functions. So let's do a 1-4-6-5 in the key of G. Alright, so that was a 1-4-6-5 in the key of G. Next, we're going to do a 4-1-5-6 in the key of G. Before we play that though, I want to just draw your attention to this. When you are learning these progressions, I would recommend staying in one area for longer, right? So that you can really get the hang of that, because what happens is, there's a saying, repetition is the mother of skill. If you are changing too many things too often, you don't get to repeat something enough times in order for your brain to form the neurological connections and pathways between what your muscles and your fingers and everything need to do. So you want to find one area, limit the variables, stay in one area, play it as over and over until you feel confident, and then you can add the other positions. I'm adding the other positions just for educational purposes so that you can see what it looks like in other areas. And of course, I'm also comfortable by playing the voicings, so I can go ahead and add that. Even though I'm changing positions, it's not really adding any mental strain for me because I know those well. They've been programmed into my muscle memory. My point is, when you start, limit the variables. When you go like I just did into a new key and a new progression, don't try and do all three positions before you've only done one. All right, so here we go with the 4-1-5-6 now in the key of G. So that's what you would do, is you will take the progressions that you've already learned and focus on progressions that are often used in modern worship songs. There's a whole range of them. Again, like I said, you can find that practice pack in the description if you want to get access to that. Modern worship songs, progressions, multiple keys, multiple tempos, multiple progressions, and a couple of other guided approaches through practicing these so that you can get the power of repetition working for you behind the scenes. So you can focus on worshiping rather than focus on kind of wrestling with a fretboard. Now, we've just done two progressions in the key of G. I won't do all of them now, but I can do a 1-6-5-4 in G. So 1-6-5-4, 1-6-5-4, 1-6-5-4, 5, 4, or I can do the 6, 4, 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, or 6, 6, 4, 1, 5 in the different positions. Now, the next level up is you can go ahead and you can do the same progressions in the key of D, and then in the key of A and the key of E, etc. So you can kind of use a cycle of fifths to cycle through these different keys where you are now getting the opportunity to use voicings you are very comfortable with. You're using progressions you've played many times using the same rhythms and maybe with a few articulation approaches, but you are doing those in different keys. Now, once you are really solid with that, and you're feeling like, wow, I've got a really great command of my 4/2 voicings, then you can go ahead and change the voicing. So now, like I said before, instead of doing 4/2 voicings, we will now play a 1/4-6/5 in the key of D. So I'm just adding another key for us for some variety. So 1/4-6/5 in the key of D, but I am going to be playing triads on string grouping 2, 3, and 4. 1/4-6/5 in the key of D with triads. So instead of doing triads on string groupings 2, 3, and 4 for a 1/4-6/5, I can now do them on string groupings 1, 2, and 3. So 1/4-6/5, 1/4-6/5, 1/4-6/5. You see, you can do them all over the show. Maybe you don't want to do closed position triads, maybe you want to do open position triads. So then it'll be 1/4-6/5. Right? That's open triads. Maybe you want to do octaves. 1/4-6/5. And I'll show you how I can do that with octaves. Just for fun, let's go ahead and do the same progression, 1/4-6/5, but I'm going to use octaves. Check this out. Alright, so there you can see the freedom that comes with playing these same progressions in different keys, using different voicings, different positions on the neck, with different rhythms, and also varying degrees of difficulty. That's going to give you the opportunity to play a wide range of modern worship songs with real confidence, and that you can then start focusing on the song as opposed to, like I said, wrestling with the mysteries of the fretboard, so to speak. And just in case you were wondering, how did I play those octaves while the octave stayed the same but the chords change? Well, if I play D, D is the root note, so I can stay on the D. Then we went to 4, which is G. A G chord has a D note in it, so it's the 5th, so I can stay there. Then we went to B minor. It has a D note in, which is the minor 3rd, so I can stay there. Then we went to A, which has a C sharp, so So I can do that. So that's kind of cool where 3 of the chords I just stay on D. Then when I went up here for D, I played F sharp because F sharp is there. For G, I played G. For B minor, I played F sharp. For A, I played E. Then when I went up even further, for D, I played A because there's an A and D. For G, I played B because there's a B and G. Then for B minor, I stayed on the B for the B minor, and then for A, I went to A. So that's kind of cool when you start using octaves like that. And once you get a good hang of, say, the 4/2s, of the triads, and of things like octaves, then all of a sudden you're going to start seeing some connections, how you can start connecting things together. And then you can even start realizing, well, you can play melodies together with these chords. You see, that is really what it's about. Now you're starting to play the song. You can focus on the song. You can focus on the lyrical content of those songs. And then if they sing like Holy is the Lord, or if they sing whatever the lyrics might say, the victory is yours. If it talks about a specific quality of God, if it talks about whatever it's talking about, as a guitar player, you can do 2 things. You can now look at those lyrics and you can use your skills and your ability and say, okay, great. How do I want to support the song in this moment? Do I want to play something that is super gentle and open? Do I want to play something that is a bit more epic and brings a bit more power? You can now change your approach to serve the song in that regard. And at the same time, depending on if you just look at the state of your heart, right? The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart. And if your heart is in a good place and it's really to seek God and to worship Him in spirit and in truth and to serve the congregation and to, join hands and so to speak with the congregation in worshiping the Lord in a corporate setting, then whatever's going on in your heart, that is actually in a way going to be encoded in your sound as well. And that is when you can then know, okay, great, I've got an ability on the guitar where I know a few basic things well. Like King David, before he was a King David, he had a slingshot and a few rocks. With that, he was able to take down Goliath. So he didn't need all of Saul's armor. He didn't have to study guitar for 10,000 hours in all that regard. He just used what he had. So you know what you've got from a skill point of view. You can use it well. Number 2, you have different flavors and different emotions and different sounds that you can convey on the guitar, because different areas, different rhythms, different voicings will have different feelings and emotions connected with them. Go and read the Psalms. You can see David was a man after God's own heart. So you've got to be able to paint a picture as a worshiper and express things with your instrument. So you can use your skills, you can express things through the knowledge that you've got and the variety that you have. And then finally, your heart in a good place, wanting to focus on the Lord, serving Him, worshiping Him. That's going to be captured within the kind of choices that you make musically, but there's also something else that gets contained within your sound that you can then go ahead and release, and to make a joyful noise on your instrument, play skillfully on the stringed instruments. The word encourages us to do all these things. And when you have a structured approach to practicing, like I've given you now, then you can really grow in your ability and your skill. All right, so I really hope that has been useful to you, that you get a lot out of this video. You might want to watch it a couple of times, make some notes. And if you want some additional help to get access to either these resources or our guidance at the Worship Guitar Skills Academy, go and check out the links in the description where you can find out more about different opportunities. All right, guys, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video.